You're listening to The Millennial's Choice Show, Canada's most trusted podcast on all things real estate, finance, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, Matthew Ablacan.
I am not the highest economist in Canada. I studied lots of economic courses, but I can tell you one thing. If the interest rate comes down, in my humble opinion, it would be the best economic drive that we can have today. There is liability. I mean, when you lower the interest rate, there is other area of the economy that may suffer a little more, but the overall, it will be a significant boost to the economy. For instance, right now, many of us are suffering paying the mortgage or taking or purchasing a house for our kids because the interest rate is too high. It is when people, and if you read today's newspaper, in the months of May, there was 30% less, is that 30% less sales than the prior month. It is incredibly, it's a major liability. It means that when the interest rate went down a quarter, small amount, you would expect a little increase in sales, not a significant decrease. People are not comfortable to make a purchase. If you don't buy, people cannot build because builder or a developer cannot build it without having revenue. The banks won't give them the money. The banks will close on them. So the interest rate will help the purchaser, but also the builder. And that's in the housing industry. But in every other industry, when the interest rate goes down, that applies to any person in this country. Would that be a computer operator, a manufacturer, a construction worker, a builder, a purchaser? Many people who are just T4, employees doing well, they're happy, but they also have purchases. Some of them with the Visa cards that the banks won't give them the line of credit that they need, and so they borrow on their own cards, and they have more than one card, and they're paying 21% plus in some cases. We are really producing so many problems to so many people. The interest rate should always be low, in my opinion, so that people feel more comfortable to invest. Because when we invest, we all are better off. In other words, wealth doesn't just go to one person. Wealth goes to everybody. Now, some people get more than others, and that's where the politics should come in and try to make sure that everybody in the country gets a fair share of the economic wealth. We should all, because remember, our kids, again, we don't know how well they're going to do. We don't know how, today they may be very wealthy, but something may happen to you, not just to our kids, to us. You and I are doing well probably today. I know I'm satisfied personally from a financial point of view and so on, but something can happen today to me or to my kids, and things can change. So why do we want to have a society where people can lose everything overnight? Let's make sure that we have a society, a country, a province, a city, a world where everybody will have a strong base, such as medical services, dental, subscription base, that nobody have to worry about choosing between putting food on the table, if I can use that old political line. I hate it, but I gotta use it in this case. Or purchasing the medicine that you need, or going to see a dentist because you're losing your teeth. That, in Italy, where I was born, I always had that. We never had to pay. In my days, I don't know if things changed significantly there. The family doctor was there. Even the dentist, to some degree, was available for everybody. Society, especially us, we are so wealthy. Why aren't we giving the base to everybody, and then leave some space for those who want to do better? Because we need that. We need an entrepreneur, the person who says, I want to work a little more than normal because I want to have a higher quality of life. I want to go on holiday more often. I want to go in Italy more often. I want to go somewhere else more often. And so I got to work a little harder than the others to be able to afford those. That should be available. But the base should be there for all. And when that happens, we are still not there in Canada. We try, but we are not there. I think we should work on that much more because remember, a taxpayer happy will produce more. It's not the hours that you put on the job that makes a difference. It's the quality of work that you have produced. You can make a decision in 5 minutes, and sometimes the same decision takes 5 days. Right. What did you achieve? You're just wasting time. Make the proper decision right away if you have the information. And if you don't, ask for it. Don't play. Don't drop the file and move somewhere else. Stay on the file. That's why we have so much inefficiency. So I say we have a wealthy country. We can even do better. Let's do that. And let's share some of that wealth with everybody at the base, I call it. But then, as I repeat to myself by saying, allow those who want to do better the opportunity to do, so that we will always have people who will work harder for all of us. Because remember, if the wealth is somehow distributed reasonably, will never be fair, 100%, never. It just society. We don't live in a society where everybody is equal. I would love that, but that's not happening. So let's do the best that we can, so that more people, all of us, will be happier, and more fairness in the system will take place.
Yeah, for me, it's all about, like, if we talk about equality in the sense of equal opportunity, give everyone the same shot and see what they do with it. Some people are going to do really well. Some will stay the same. Some will. That's, for me, equal opportunity, 100%. One thing more recently that's been happening in our communities is the crime. Yesterday, I'm sitting in my backyard, the police helicopter, and listen, we spent a lot of money on our home.
Yeah.
Police helicopters right over us. And they went to the neighborhood beside us. Like, I have 2 little kids under the age of 2. Like, what's going on? Are they looking for someone? Are they running around in the neighborhood? These thoughts cross your mind. And then when you have a message from authorities that one person, I don't know who it started from, that says, leave your keys at the front of the house, and they retracted their statements afterwards, but that was the initial statement. It caused a lot of public outrage. I mean, you're sending a wrong message to criminals, but I want to ask you, from someone in leadership, how do you solve that? How would you solve that problem?
Well, I guess those people, we have to find out why kids or people are committing a crime. I think we know in general why, but I think we should look a little deeper and solve those problems. In other words, if a kid is stealing because he or she wants some money. Maybe to buy drugs. That's what generally the community would tell you. We have to solve the drug problem. We should be able to educate our kids at home and at school and in society through this discussion that drugs are not good things to have. That doesn't help you. That doesn't make your life better. That makes you a loser. When I was a kid, smoking was something to show off with. My group came up with an idea. If you smoke, you have yellow teeth.
Yes.
None of us smoke. Nobody wanted yellow teeth. I mean, I wasn't a marketer. I was just a kid. But somehow that idea came to me or to somebody. I don't even remember who came up with the idea, but I was part of that for sure. And we never smoked. I mean, I only had a couple of cigars when my son, in my culture, when a boy is born, you have a cigar. You find your friends and have a cigar. It's another way of celebrating, I guess. But with that exception, and a few New Years after, when the party's over, in the old days we used to go to Banquet Hall and celebrate, hundreds of people, and then you go home, and have another glass of champagne with your wife, then she would go upstairs and I would have a cigar a few times. But otherwise, I never smoke because of that philosophy. Same thing should be done for drugs. For why people are stealing cars? Because somehow they are able to sell to somebody, make money, and use those money for whatever their needs are. We have to make sure that their needs are not the wrong needs. And if they need money, somehow the money should be there. The family, I'm sure that parents would be willing to give that extra dollar to the child if it means avoiding the child breaking the law. I mean, I would. I suspect every parent would do that. Even those who don't have it, they will find a way to, because at the end of the day, why are we working for? For the kids. Not for me, I'm fine. I can retire, and have enjoy the rest of my life and with my wife and so on. But you want to do more. You want to, for your own kids, for your grandchildren, but also for yourself. There is still a little kick on me to do what I'm doing. It still gives me satisfaction. And so, but yeah, we have to find the reason why crimes are committed. We have to make it something negative, so people feel that they shouldn't do it, because those kids who are committing the crime, they're not happy. That's why they're doing it. They're not happy. Maybe they should be happy. Some of them are doing well in their family, but somehow they don't see it. We have seen very well-to-do kids committing a crime. So the question is, why would they do it? Right. Well, because they may have the money, they may have the social status, but somehow they don't feel it. They feel that their parents have it, their brother, their sister, their cousin, but not him or her. And that's why they're committing potentially that crime. We have to identify the source and fight it. Unfortunately, what we do, we react quite often. Sometimes we have people who get a jail term, and many people disagree with the degree. They want more. Or some people want less, some people want more. That's democracy. But those judges, those police officers, those laws, legislation in place should be there to reduce the liability. You can never eliminate anything. There will, no matter what you do in society, there will be somebody who will break the law for whatever reason. Society is made up of people like you and I, who were given responsibility in public office, such as myself, or in judges to make the ruling. In other words, the politicians make the laws at the federal, provincial, even municipal level. We make legislation, bylaw, that other people will have to judge, the judges, the people sitting at the inter-municipal board or on any ABC agency board and committee, as we call it. Those are people like you. Individuals, in some cases at the higher level, are judges, people who have been through the legal system, lawyers, then became judges. All those people are people living in a community, just like you and I. Those people have the same objective that you and I should have, and that is to have a better society. Because I remember one thing, if they steal my car, guess what? They will also steal the judge car. They will also steal the lawyer who is defending the criminal car. There's lawyers defending criminals, right? Well, one of these days, that lawyer or some of their members of their family will also lose a car, or somebody will break in and steal their jewelry or their money or TV, whatever. So we all should understand that, and we should all work for the betterment of all, because it's us who will be affected. It's not them, it's us, all of us. And even if it's not, somebody is God, and somebody thinks that they're God, and they will never be affected. Become real. We are all. Doesn't matter who you are. You can be exposed to the same danger. You may be having a dinner with your wife, your friends, your family, and some nuts come in and start shooting. It has happened so many times.
It happens.
You didn't know nothing. You happened to be there having a family get together. Never thought anything would happen, but it did happen. So be aware that it can happen to all of us. So all of us have a collective responsibilities to assist the police, legislation, elected people who make legislation, who are there for the people, not for themselves. So when politicians don't do the legislation that is required, it's time to make some changes. Potentially, you may agree with 70% or 50 plus 1%, so you may still feel comfortable. But in the long run, unless we do the lifting, as I tell people, nobody else will. And if nobody else will, society won't change, it will get worse. Because remember, the bad guys, and when I say guy, I mean female and male, the bad individuals will always be around. The question is how many? 1% or 5%, 3%? There will always be bad people out there. A percentage of. Let's make sure that number is as close to zero as possible. And let's make sure that the legislation in place is there to deal with them properly, not to make them feel that they can be more aggressive next time. And quite frankly, we also need a legislation that doesn't put behind bars people who will get worse when they are behind bars. If we put, me, you behind bars, and then when we come out, we're worse than before, what did society achieve? Nothing.
So it's like that fine line, because if you look at El Salvador, used to be the murder capital of the world, but now it's the safest country in the world. But he took a very, very extreme, aggressive approach.
Yes.
And he mentioned, the president mentioned that could there be are there innocent people that are in the prison that shouldn't be in the prison? He admitted, he says yes, but they're going through those cases now and figuring out who's who. But I feel that sometimes just the message, as you said, don't smoke unless you want yellow teeth. Sometimes the message is the deterrent. And that message of being hard on crime or saying that not only are you going to get arrested, the police, they do a great job. Yeah. But sometimes the same day, those people are let on bail. Yeah. They get out on the same day. But I think, sometimes what I saw worked during Stephen Harper's time was the mandatory minimum sentencing for crimes like marijuana and things like that are legal now. But, it was more of a deterrent. And the police could use their own rationale. If it's a kid who is smoking like a joint, they're not going to throw them in jail for 2 years, but they'll use their rationale. So sometimes it's a deterrent. I think we've gone too far one way and need to come back to some sort of middle ground.
Yeah, and as an open-minded person, let me say that I agree. I see merits in what you're saying. Usually a guy like me doesn't agree with that, but I do, and I say so, and I'm proud to say so. And I give you a good example. Do you know how many soldiers, our ancestors, died during the war?
Hundreds of thousands.
They didn't get nothing out of it. They died. They died for democracy.
Yeah.
So now it's not the same example. There's quite a difference between a soldier dying on the war, let's say, and somebody going to jail. But sometimes, unfortunately, the message has to be tough to change trends. It's not fair. We may cause additional problem to a few people, but if society is better off, then that is the avenue that we may have to proceed. I mean, again, there will be many social workers and legislators that will have difficulty with that type of approach, but society should always look short run and long run and what needs to be done. As the example that you used, I am slightly familiar because I read a couple articles, but I'm not an expert, so I can't judge specifically. But I do remember the positivity that such an approach seemed to deliver, and that's what we should do. Again, at the end of the day, what's good for society is what we should do. Even if it costs me an extra dollar or if it's not in my best interest, because society is what I need. Again, if I go to the restaurant with my wife and we're happy, everything is cool, everything's as we want at home, and then somebody who's not happy comes there and decides to misbehave, then I lost.
Yeah.
So I better avoid this individual becoming who he has become by losing something that I don't want to lose, because in the long run, it's in my best interest.
The collective good.
Yeah, that's the word, collective. For me, now, other philosophical approach a little different. That's their choice, but mine is such.
2 final points. One of them is very quick. I'll leave that to the end, but the last thing. So China, billions of people. India, billions of people. Naturally, a lot of production goes there. Naturally, a lot of pollution. Naturally, just because of the numbers. They have less measures than we have in Canada for the climate change initiative. And in Canada, we produce maybe less than 2% from the studies of the global pollution. So the measures we're putting in place doesn't really make a dent on pollution. Now, we can debate the temperatures and this and that, but because climate change is a real thing, the world changes. Yeah. But in terms of the measures put in place, we are nowhere near. We're doing way more, and it's hurting Canadians bottom line because we're affected economically than some of these other countries that are producing way more emissions. Now, I think the Canadian people have done a good job at communicating this, and farmers and truckers and other people, other groups have come out and said, this is impacting us. And, even the leader of the current opposition party, conservative government, is speaking about this and talking about axe the tax and all these things. So I want to ask you a two-part question. I don't want to ask you what you think about that particular policy, but what I want to ask you is there a valid reason for Canadians to be maybe upset or complaining about it? And number two, what would be maybe a policy that you would put in place to combat climate change?
Well, I am not a scientist, and I certainly don't have a full answer. But based on what I read and what I hear, it is possible that we are a little too aggressive in that policy. As the leader of the opposition indicates, we also know that the government a few years ago changed leadership in that portfolio. And if you read the newspaper in the last few days, you can see that the former minister is speaking out against the prime minister. If I can use my political brain hat, as they say, you can smell that there is some philosophical difference of opinion within the same party. I think that the leader of the opposition feels a little more happier with that type of reality. And I don't want to give him advice, but a reasonable person with based on what I know can see that there is something there. Should we change direction? If you are on the West in particular, the answer is yes. If you're in Ontario, not as much. If you go in Quebec, trust me, it's not a discussion as far as I know. It all is the degree of openness that people have. Quebec, like it or not, has always been avant-garde when it comes to social issue, environment, justice. I know some people don't agree, but read and you'll see. Or go in holiday and you can see a different style. I love, when I go to Quebec, I love Ontario, of course, Vaughan, Toronto. When we talk about Toronto, we talk about Vaughan, we talk about the GTA. We are second to nowhere in everything. Openness, even if there is some radical like anywhere else, we have our own share. But to stay on the topic, I can see that there will be some changes, no matter what's going to happen in the next election. Even if I know what's going to happen in this election. If there would be an election today, I know exactly. We all know what's going to happen today. But
hold on, what would happen?
Oh, come on, you know the answer. The polls are telling you that, and I think the polls are truthful in what they're saying today. But the election is not today. And so we have to wait and see. But if there's an election today, the Conservative would win hands down. Doesn't take a scientist to conclude on that. If that happens, there will be changes as expected. But the other thing that I'm going to speculate on is that based on what the present Prime Minister said, Justin Trudeau, yesterday, today newspaper, there will be changes on direction to respond to the by-election and the general mood of the party. And so you may see some change in his own direction before the next election. Would that be enough? Nobody knows the answer. If you're a conservative, you say no, there will never be. If you're a liberal, yeah, we are hoping for. If you're the average taxpayer, say no, there won't be enough time. So the majority sits on one side, not on the other. But we have seen a miracle. We believe in miracle. It's not my job, considering I'm a municipal elected official. I have my own party affiliation, as you know, but I am not as aggressive as I used to be when I was younger. One of the reasons is because I'm not as happy as I used to be. That's natural. Nothing wrong. I'm sure many conservatives today are not happy. I know a bunch of them who are not happy because what direction the party is taking. That's a minority, I would say, a small number. But there is, just like there is liberal, there may be more liberal unhappy. This is life. We don't agree. You know, the 50% plus one I told you earlier, that's reality. Fact is, though, that the Canadians are in a different mood. Vaughan residents are in a different mood. There isn't much space here. If you look provincially, all the three riding that Vaughan is party to, provincially, they're all conservative. And federally, 2 out of 3 are also conservatively. So out of 6, 3 provincial, 3 federally, 5 are already conservative, 1 is liberal. How much change can there be? The liberal may end up losing the only seat that they have federally. So in Vaughan, there's no question that the numbers are clear. But there isn't much space here. In Toronto, it's where there's lots of space. That's where the Liberals used to be 100%. Now they lost 1 seat. That's where the party has to break ground. There is other regions, quite frankly. There is a few other Liberal, in Markham. We have 1, 2, I know very well, which are Liberals. There is a little more opportunity for the opposition to make a difference. But what I would say to the politicians and to the people in particular is, look what's important to you, and look, listen, read what they are telling you, the other party, and choose what is best for you. Because if all of us do what's best for us, we will have a better representation and a better government. Doesn't matter which color. Because look, the provincial conservative, they came up with a number of policy and then they back off. Why? Because the people spoke out. And they said, really, I believe on this, I believe on that, but I can back off because I can see merits. And after all, I'm elected by the people. I should represent the people. So why wouldn't I? Think about that. Think what's happening in Europe, and I know many of our friends may not be familiar because they were born here. They don't care. Even me, in the old days, I used to spend more time thinking about Italy, Israel. I happened to be in the house I went to see on my own expenses, by the way, not the public expense, my own expenses. And I saw, and I met with some of them, and socially, politically in the house, and so I saw how decisions are made there. They are so different than what we do in Canada. This representation by population type that we said no already. There is, in Europe, that's how they operate somehow. And yet, they deliver for the people better social services. The basic, you remember the basic I spoke earlier on? That we all need? Because our kids, you and I, don't know what's on us, to us tomorrow. Today we got millions. Tomorrow we may don't have a penny because the investment went wrong. The housing market dropped, and we had most of our money in the house instead of renting. We own it. Nobody knows. So, think about that.
And in Italy right now, as we speak, outside of the U.S., is the fastest growing economy in the world. Italy right now is the fastest growing economy in the world. Yeah. So we have things to learn from different places for sure.
I remember when I was a boy, I was born and raised, went to school, worked in Italy. We used to have the 13 months. I remember so what do you mean 13 months? There's only 12 months. No, there's 13 months. So it's impossible. How does it work? In Italy, you get an extra month's pay. In Germany, when I used to be a student, they used to have 7 weeks holiday a year. So what do you mean? There's only 2 in Canada. What do you mean there's yeah? When I was a baby, when I was a student, I should say, let's say in the 20, not that long ago. Well, yes, many years, but not 100 years ago. The fact is that some countries are doing very well, and yet they give so much holiday to their employees. You know how they achieve that? By being more productive when they work, and then say, since we are doing so well, let's give a little more time. You know what that means? We give you some, talking about economic stimulus. The moment that I get 7 weeks instead of 2 weeks a year, what do? I go on holiday. In Canada, in Vaughan, in Ontario, Canada, but also outside of Canada. I create another industry. So Germany created the tourist industry, and if they don't have spectacular place, which they do, by the way, because I have been in Germany a number of times, and I can tell it's a wonderful country in many ways. So is Italy, so is Greece, so is Spain, so is many other parts of the world. If you plan, those 7 weeks holiday can become an asset, a wealth, because now I go and spend the money, so I create jobs, but my life is more fulfilling, potentially, which means when I go back to the office or to the construction site or to the retail store or whatever I do for a living, I'm going to be more productive.
Yeah.
That's why Canada, for instance, we are in the export and import business. Imagine if we stop exporting and importing. Our wealth will suffer enormously right now. So the strategy of the politician is to get ready. If that will ever happen, what response, economically speaking, do we have to introduce to make our economy still prosper? We have lots of benefit when people travel. We give management to other country. We tell people how to run their shops, their manufacturing. We sell natural resources. We are lucky that we have so much natural resources, and so we are doing well.
Yeah.
But things can change, and that's why we need people with brains in public office. No warm sitters who say yes sir to anybody instead of standing up for their own and represent their own constituents. We need real leaders, no fakes, leader who do nothing, just collect their salary and smile because somebody bought them lunch and they're happy. Let me give you the old story I mentioned earlier. Go with somebody better than you and pick up the tab than going with somebody worse than you and they pick up the tab. If you take that philosophy and accept it, you're going to do better, especially those hot seat warmer politicians at all the level, municipal, provincial, federal, that they're just wasting their time doing nothing. I don't know why. I don't know what satisfaction they get it. Society needs to stand up and make those changes when necessary. And I hope people understand, appreciate, and disagree, fine. But use your brain. You got it. You're going to do me a favor, not just to yourself in particular, which is wonderful, but even to me, because I'm going to benefit from it, quite frankly. A better political system, it's better for all of us.
I love that. I agree. I want to ask you, final opinion. It's one or the other. One or the other.
Yes.
One or the other. Upcoming U.S. election. A lot of issues have transpired from, Trump's reign in office and then the election that happened afterwards and allegations and certain things that happened that took place that Trump says it was a rigged election. Anyways, he's got another chance. It's coming up in November. Who do you think takes it?
I think Trump will win hands down today. Hands down. After the debate, I was watching. We had the family get together. It was a birthday. And we watched it, we ate it. All of us, remember, we are in the center. My family is the center. We are what you call a liberal, open-minded. We believe in everybody, not the left, not the right, everybody in the center. We adjust our position to reflect the best for us, for the community at large. So Democrat, generally speaking, would be the party that I would naturally choose. After such a poor performance, it would be disgraceful for the present president to be reelected. I knew already. But when I saw him, oh my God. Now, having said that, there is still opportunity for changes. It's up to them, not to me. I can't vote anyway. But based on their decision, again, the Americans should make their own decision. So if somebody responds properly, they should be rewarded. If they don't, they shouldn't. Now, having said that, is Trump the right candidate? Many people, including myself, will say no. We know his tax war, his criminal charges. But I'm also a person that believes that everybody should be treated fairly. And everybody is after Trump. So I am, under that scenario, unfortunately, for some people. I would say that Trump deserve a little more respect, because why is everybody after him? I told you earlier, he has a wife, he has a family, kids, boys and girls. They're all working for him. I can't think of that many people out there that can say, I have the same wife. Well, no, he had a number of wives, I should say, but the president's wife for many years. And the children, they all seem to be with him. Even if you read stories here and there, I don't see that. What I see is a husband and wife and kids that are doing reasonably well. And that is a very important to me. May not be for others, but to me it is. So I give you the answer at the beginning, Trump. But I give you a little of extra background because it's not my normal response, but there is a good reason why I had to give that answer.
I appreciate that. Any last words for our viewers or for the people listening to this?
Thank you for the invitation. I'm available anytime that we have a serious discussion such as this today. To the constituents, to the people out there, please do whatever you want. But remember, you can have a better system only when you participate. Not me, you. You must stand up for your rights, for what you believe, if you want a better system. Otherwise, you and I will suffer more than we should. So you can make a difference. Be positive. Stand up. Attend meeting. Speak your mind professionally, please. So yeah, you can get mad here and there. We all do. But at the end of the day, be professional, because accusing or attacking, it doesn't really solve the problem. The problem is only solved when we debate properly, professionally, and we understand each other somehow, and we can make an impact on those people, such as politicians, who will make the legislation. And quite frankly, even the judges, those people who will translate the legislation, they should also receive a message here and there from the community, because they live in the community. If the message goes out properly, professionally, they will hear it. It's you who can make the difference, not me. You can make me change my position if you send the message properly. Do your part, so we all do our part, and we all have a better system, a better city, a better province, a better country, a better world for all of us.
Amazing. Councillor Racco, thanks for being on the show. We got to do a part 2 very soon.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.